everyone, welcome back to Callie and Beans Books. I'm Brittany and it's time for my monthly book corner. So in the month of July, I actually didn't purchase any books. I'm kind of in a buying slump, if that makes sense. I'm more saving money for books that I know that are coming out later this fall that I'm dying to get my hands on. I'm really worried that I'm going to spend too much money on books I'm never going to read. I ran into that a lot last year while I'm looking at my shelves of all the books I've collected within the last year, that there are some I probably will never read. And that makes me sad. So I'm just kind of being a little more picky about the books that I'm bringing into my home and putting on my shelves. So that's why I'm calling it kind of a buying slump. Of course, there's books out there right now that I'm really excited to read, like Aurora Burning. It's just, I haven't brought myself to be able to go to the bookstore and purchase it or order it on Amazon or order it anywhere. So that's just kind of why I'm taking a step back and being like, I need to focus on a couple of other things right now. And once I have my finances a little bit better under control, I'll feel a little bit more confident in investing in my bookshelves again. But I did dive into my fairy tale retelling readathon I'm putting on for myself. There's really no prompts. It's just something that, it's the theme to my TBR for a while, that I really want to read some fairy tale retellings. And I jumped into the 4 that I introduced in my TBR at the beginning of the month. Of course, I started with A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I absolutely love this story. I gave it a 4 out of 5. For those that don't know ACOTAR in the series, it follows Farah, and it starts with her killing a wolf in the forest, and the next day a beastly creature bursts into her home and kidnaps her and takes her to Prythian, which is run by courts of High Fae, and she has to maneuver her way through the Spring Court with the High Lord Tamlin. And there's curses involved, there's big bads. I absolutely loved it. I know it's not everyone's favorite out there, but it's definitely one of mine. You can definitely find the flaws in the story. You can definitely see that there are tropes in there that not everyone loves, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I loved watching Farah grow as a character. I loved seeing her go from this icy, cut-off person to someone that is open to new things, that is open to seeing how people live their lives that aren't necessarily her kin, and I absolutely enjoyed it. I loved the action in this as well. I will say that this is definitely more of a new adult story. There are themes in there that I don't think I would have been able to handle as a teenager. Not saying teenagers can't, I'm just saying that there are some themes and there are some scenes that should not be read by an 11-year-old. That's all I'm saying. So overall, it was amazing, and I absolutely love this story, and I cannot wait to see where Farah goes on her amazing journey. So the next story I picked up was Cinder by Marissa Meyer. This is the first in the Lunar Chronicles series, and I gave it a 4 out of 5. Cinder is a story about Cinder, who is a 16-year-old cyborg, and she is an amazing mechanic. So when she was 11 years old, she was in a tragic accident that caused her to be rebuilt as a cyborg, and she was adopted by this family, but her stepmother didn't really want her to begin with. So there's that cruel relationship that was very similar to Cinderella, where this story was kind of adapted from. And it's a very intense story where it's very emotional. So you go through this emotional roller coaster with Cinder. There are ups and downs, there's triumphs, there's heartbreak, and you feel every moment. At least I felt every moment, and that's one thing that I really enjoyed about this story, that I could connect with this character. Even though it's super sci-fi and something that I was very worried about jumping into, because I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to connect with the world, and I shouldn't have been worried. Marissa Meyer is amazing at world building. I absolutely love her writing style, and that love definitely continued as I started the Lunar Chronicles. It's definitely one that is a little closer to the fairy tale retellings as the other ones that I have on my list, but it was amazing, and I absolutely adored Cinder. So the next story I jumped into was Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas, and this one again was a 4 out of 5. I did really enjoy the setup for Throne of Glass, and I loved following Selena as she's whisked away from slavery in this dungeon and prison, meets with the crown prince, Prince Dorian, and he tasks her with being his champion as the king is putting on a competition of 23 other assassins, thieves, riffraff of the country to become his assassin, his personal dirty work person. and the prince wants her to be his champion. So she agrees to his terms and is taken into this competition where she has to win these trials. However, she doesn't want to bring in too much attention to herself, but she actually goes under a different identity because they don't want people to know who she is. She kind of has to lay low and be in the middle of the competition. She doesn't want to excel too well, and she doesn't want to, fail, because then she goes back into her imprisonment. So she kind of keeps in the middle. She does well at certain things. She kind of slacks at others, and she gains alliances and friendships. It does introduce a love triangle between Selena and two of the other characters, and I'm not a huge love triangle fan. When that was introduced to it, I'm just like, okay, no. But in the end, it made sense. It's so weird, I'm not explaining it very well. It's just how I felt about the story. This is another example of it being more of a new adult story for me. I did really enjoy Throne of Glass, though. I did really like the banter of the characters. I loved how Selena could be a badass assassin, but also really enjoy her femininity and be able to get dressed up and enjoy the finer things in the castle, but also go head to head with a bunch of guys that want to kill her. So I don't know, I just really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to where her journey goes. It's going to be a little bit before I pick up the next couple stories. I'm just going to kind of take my time with it and really enjoy the story. I just feel like sometimes with series, if I get really wrapped up into it and I binge the entire thing, I feel like I'm exhausted and I didn't really enjoy all of it that I could have. So I think I'm going to take a step back and read a couple of other things in between the Throne of Glass series books. But overall, I did really enjoy Throne of Glass and can't wait to continue. The last book that I read in the month of July was Once Upon a Dream by Liz Braswell, and I gave this a 3 out of 5. This is a Sleeping Beauty retelling, and it centers around if Aurora never woke up from Prince Philip's kiss, where what if Prince Philip actually falls asleep when he kisses her, and we follow the world as Aurora's dream world with little hints of what's going on in, I guess, the real world or the awake world. Maleficent has created a twist on the original story where Aurora's parents were evil and the 3 fairies were evil, and she's actually the good one. And Aurora's stuck in this idea, but she's also getting conflicted memories in a way, and then she finally decides to escape the castle and wants to see what's on the outside. And that's when she realizes everything that Maleficent was saying wasn't true. And we follow her as she's kind of coming to terms with what her real world was, what her real life is versus what her dream world is. And she's actually older in her dream world, where it made it seem where time was going by really quickly, where she's 19 in the dream world, where she's 16 in her awake world, and she has no memory at first of her awake world. And it's really interesting, and I thought it was really intriguing at first, but then there were other points where I'm like, oh, okay. And there was other points where I'm like, yes, this is great. And it also seemed to drag on, and there was a lot of moments where like, yes, this is it, they're gonna get through it. And then there's other moments where I'm like, okay, we're still on this journey. And I just felt like maybe there's times where it could have just been done. But overall, I did really enjoy the way Aurora actually found herself and realized that she doesn't need to rely on Philip, and she isn't this pretty princess only good for her looks and charm that she's set up to be from the way Maleficent was raising her. I will say with the Twisted Tales, and I am really excited to continue reading them, especially Liz Braswell's, because I really do enjoy her writing style. There's just moments in the retellings that I'm like, this is kind of silly, and it didn't add anything to the story, and it just felt like it was dragging on. So I'm looking forward to continue reading the Twisted Tales and kind of seeing what else is out there. It's just this one wasn't the greatest, I guess. I did really enjoy As Old as Time, which I read last year. I did not connect with this one as well as I did with the other one. So my current read is A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. I am actually almost exactly halfway through it, and I love it. It definitely kind of flips the ending of ACOTAR on its head and goes, did you really enjoy that? Because now I'm second guessing everything I felt about Tamlin and Rhys and everybody, that I'm like, I don't know how to feel. But now I'm starting to see like pieces, and we're getting the aftermath of how Farah did when they were under the mountain, and we're getting more of the feelings, and we're getting more of how she actually feels about the events of ACOTAR. And at first I was not a fan of it. At first I was like, no, let's come back. But then I'm like, no, good for you. So I'm just having some mixed reactions right now. I'm not sure where the story is going. All I know is that I'm thoroughly enjoying the character that Farah is becoming, because we get a strong female lead in ACOTAR and she just becomes even stronger in this one, and I'm loving it. I really am. For the next couple of books that I want to read after I'm done with ACOMAF, I may or may not read the rest of the series. It kind of depends on how I feel at the end of this story, but I do want to finish the rest of the Lunar Chronicles because it's staring at me. They're right there. They're like, read me. And I want to. So I think I'm going to jump into those and kind of get back on track on more of the exact fairy tale retellings, because all of the Lunar Chronicles, 4 main books, we do follow retellings of fairy tale characters that we get. So we got Cinderella and Cinder, we get the Little Red Riding Hood and Scarlet, we get Rapunzel and Cress, and then we get Snow White and Winter. So I do want to read all of them as more of the fairy tale retellings. I just needed answers in ACOMAF, so that's why I'm reading it right now. And of course, jumping back into the Twisted Tales, I'll probably read A Whole New World by Liz Braswell this upcoming month as well. I did hear that this one is the worst, but we'll find out. I do like Aladdin, so I'm interested to kind of see the twist on A Whole New World and see where they go with the story. And then after A Whole New World with the Twisted Tales, I don't know which one I want to read next. I do have to finish collecting the ones that are currently out. I think the only other one I have on my shelves right now is Reflection, which is by Elizabeth Lim. So I do want to kind of start collecting all of the Twisted Tales next and then kind of finish those out, but I know there's going to be other books in between those. So that's pretty much it for my book corner this month. I am looking forward to continuing with my fairy tale retellings. If you have any that I haven't mentioned in this video or my TBR video, please let me know. I'm totally open to suggestions. So put a comment below with your recommendations. I love them, so I'm looking forward to any recommendations you guys have. Otherwise, be sure to head over to Goodreads. That's where we are hosting our Serpent and Badger Book Club meetings, thoughts, and discussions there, as well as our individual Goodreads accounts and our Instagrams. All of our links will be in the description below. Until next time, everyone. Bye.